Hello everybody and welcome back to RP1. In today's episode we are going to work on finishing up our program. We only have 2 more mandatory contracts left, both dealing with going downrange, and I think it should be mostly achievable given everything that we've unlocked. We're going a little bit slower than in the previous series that we did, especially slower than in our full-length feature film about RP1, but we're still making some decent progress, and we should be on track to finishing our programs in good enough time. There was a lot that went into this episode. We are going to just be kind of focusing on the 2 main launches in particular. But of course, we'll go ahead and start off at the KSC and see all that we've got going on. We have an X-plane to recover. We've got 3 bits of science that we're working on. We have no science to spend on anything new, so that's all we can do. We've got a contract for a downrange milestone, 3,000 kilometers. Then we also have a contract for an X-plane Mach 2 supersonic flight. This prop plane is no longer of any use to us. We just wanted to build it in order to fly around for the first time. That's why we didn't tool it. Like I mentioned before, we had no use to continue it. So now we are going to work on the rocket that will complete the 3,000 kilometer downrange, and hopefully we can expand on it to complete the next one. So here I am just looking through all the engines. I think I want to use something different than I'm used to. I used the the A4, which eventually upgraded into the A9. In our previous 2 playthroughs, and so I want to try something different, and so I'm looking between the XL R41 and the RD100. So I'm going to go with the RD100 because there are more upgrade options available, which means that we'll be able to utilize it for theoretically we'll be able to utilize it for longer. So right now I am just creating a little shroud for the engine using another one of the procedural tanks. You can also do this with a boat tail adapter, but I like to utilize the fuel in it, and it just kind of looks nice this way. And also you don't have to deal with the awkwardness of a boat tail adapter. We're going to extend the length of the body out. We're going to create a smooth cone for the nose of that, for the avionics. We only have the starting avionics for our near Earth, so unfortunately we can't save any weight there, but doesn't matter. We will soon unlock better avionics anyways. So now we're just putting in the tail fins. This rocket seems to be pretty aerodynamic as is. It doesn't really need too much. Struggling with the controls here for a second, but I eventually get it figured out. We're going to give it a slight angle on the fins, and that's going to give us some good spin stabilization. Alright, so we've got the first stage pretty much handled. Now we're just going to put the second stage. We are going to create the same kind of sounding rocket that we did in the first episode with a 400 millimeter body, Aerobee engine. Pretty short, pretty stocky. Nothing too fancy. We're going to throw some fins on there eventually, after we get our science experiments all situated. There we go, get some fins on there, make it into a nice little sounding rocket. Now, here's the rub. This rocket, and the other one that we're going to show you today, went through many iterations. Before we ended up getting right. We did hours and hours of test flight. Like, this was maddening with how much it took just to get this little piece of equipment downrange 300 kilometers. And so I'm going to kind of skip through all that. I just wanted to show you the lifting rocket doesn't really change all that much. But after all those iterations, this is what we came up with, the DR3000, the Dr. 3000 as I've been calling it. We have an Aerobee SRB engine as our second stage, and the Aerobee engine has been upgraded to the next configuration, so it has a little bit longer of a body. Both the top stage and the lifting stage are being overburnt over their rated burn time quite significantly. So they're going to be burning a bit longer than they should be. But luckily we don't run into any problems, any test flight failures. We got actually very lucky on this. I was definitely surprised, especially since we're using an untested engine. I didn't really know what to expect. I just want to take a second, enjoy the view. Volumetric clouds are working in full effect. Gorgeous. Anyways, we're just going to kind of follow the rocket as it goes down. There's nothing I really have too much to say about this that I haven't said in the previous episodes, in our previous runs of RP1. You know, you just kind of have to get it at a good enough angle. I'm going for height distance here. If I can reach a certain altitude, that will kind of guarantee me a downrange distance. So that's why we are pitched up at such a high angle, going at about 45 degrees until shortly at the end. We're going to spin so we get a nice spin stabilization going before we ignite the next stage. And with 1 second left of burn time, we ignite, the aerobee engine fires at the same time, and we drop the SRB slightly early, just about 0.1 second before it shut down. And that allowed us to be a little bit more efficient, because when the SRB is finishing the rest of its fuel, it starts to slow down a little bit, which is causing some drag on the engine. As you're trying to move forward, it's also pulling it back, and so dropping SRBs early sometimes can be quite beneficial. So here we are, we're doing some good science, doing some in-space science. That will be super beneficial for us. And we are passing 1,000 kilometers apoapsis. Definitely going to be getting some serious distance on this. So we look behind us, we get a nice shot of Florida. You can see the whole state. It's looking very nice. And as we reach our apoapsis, we go ahead and stage that rocket body, and to leave just our probe core exposed, and that's all we need to bring back. I mean, we don't actually have to bring it back. It can explode, that's fine. As long as it covers the distance that it needs to cover, we will have satisfied that contract. So we're time warping ahead, trying not to go too fast. I don't have any proof of this, but I feel like if you time warp too quickly, the computer doesn't exactly register the amount of distance you've covered. I can't say for certain, but I feel like the times where I've done this successfully, I've always done it where I haven't time warped too quickly during this last round. When you're in space and you can really crank up the time warp, that's where things get dangerous. And so I just sit back, enjoy my cup of coffee, and let it fall back to Earth. And we are definitely on the downwards trajectory. We're going to be coming back into the atmosphere pretty soon. There's a couple dark spots on the clouds back there. I think a little glitchiness, or maybe that's a shadowed cloud that we can't see. Nope. And as we get closer, the clouds render a little bit more. There's less coverage, but more detail. And right before we actually hit the atmosphere, we have successfully completed our contract. We have sent this little probe 3,000 kilometers downrange away from the KSC, and we can prove that we are one step closer to reaching orbit. So that's all that we need to do with this. We can just watch it explode. Nothing else to worry about. We can safely go back to the KSC and collect our rewards. So there we are. We've got another DR3000 in the works. We're going to do that mission one more time and just collect any residual science from that. It wasn't capable of completing our next contract, so obviously we're going to have to redesign. But with that science, we are going to unlock the mature supersonic flight and its dependencies, the material science. The material science is good on its own, but the mature supersonic flight is what is keeping us from the next X-Plane contract, because we can't air launch high enough. And with a higher air launch, it's going to be a lot easier to complete that contract, and so that's why we needed that. And at the last moment, as you saw there, I spent our remainder points into some solid rocket booster technology. But here we are in mission control. We are going to pick up the next and last contract, last required contract of the suborbital research development, and that is downrange 400. Oh, downrange 5,000. You say. Well, every time that I've ever done this before, it's been 4,500, so this is going to be a significant challenge, because the 4,500, I always had to pull out all tricks and really work hard to get that last 100 kilometers of distance out of it. So this is going to be a challenge. So I had a little trouble with this one. I had actually a lot of trouble. I don't even know why I said a little. I had a lot of trouble with this contract. It took many efforts, many reiterations, many different tweaks and tiny little changes on things. But this is what I came up with. And I hate to say it, but more boosters. So what really set this launch apart from all the rest is the two RD100s. Actually, I believe those are the RD101s, whatever the second configuration for them is. But yeah, by doubling them up and extending the amount of fuel that it took, so that way they could burn for their full extended burn time, was what it needed. The higher thrust to weight ratio on takeoff led for a better, quicker start, which meant that I was able to push forward, push to a higher altitude before the flame out and the switch to the SRB second stage. And that pushed me over the edge. I found that I was hitting a ceiling at 1.5 kilometers, 150,000 kilometers altitude, because anything below that, and I was not able to successfully complete the contract. Anything below 1.5, and I could just automatically know that it was done for. The contract was not going to be completed by this. So it's interesting the things that you learn as you do these test flights, because I'm starting to get an idea of the cross section between my desired altitude and my desired downrange distance. But that's how this game goes. You're always learning. But anyways, I'm rambling a little bit. Let's just, since we're not going to show the actual building in the rocket, let's just do a quick little breakdown on this particular rocket and what it took to get the 5,000 kilometers. So first and foremost, we have our Delta V charts right there. You can see we've got a significant amount. Definitely not enough to reach orbit. Definitely not enough to do anything past a downrange contract, but not too bad. Our thrust to weight ratio is all looking good for all of our stages, so that is that. So first off, for our avionics, we are using the post-war avionics, the very first upgrade. We've got about 700 units of electricity, and we have all 3 science experiments aboard. So it's good. I found out that I didn't change my communication, so I'm going to turn that down to 20. We don't need the full 30, so. Next, we have the sounding payload. We had to have 50 units of sounding payload, so we have just over that in this little midsection. And then a decoupler, of course, to just separate the rocket body. I don't think we need that. I think we can just take the whole body down, but I like to keep things organized. Then we have this procedural rocket body, 400 millimeters, the same that we did in our previous sounding rocket, therefore we can save on the tooling cost. We have the highest configuration of the Aerobee engine, and so and then we have an Aerojet SRB to push it and help stage with help with the ullage of the ignition. And then for our lifter vehicle, we have a near-Earth avionics, but we didn't unlock anything new, so we just have the very basic. It controls 41.5 tons, and that is just over what we need, so it's not wasting too much space controlling weight that we don't have. And this one I can also turn down the communication on. And for our body, we have it as a cone with just a ever so slightly, just a gradual expansion towards the bottom to kind of match the base that we have. And then here are our engines, the RD101. Yep, there we go, the RD101, because as the second configuration of this, it's got a nice burn time. And once again, we are extending a little bit past our 7-second allowance on our burn time, but it works out. So sometimes you just have to take the risk and hope that it pays off. So yeah, so this is the Dr. 5000, and we will be putting it on the launch pad momentarily. We're going to just skip forward to it. We didn't really do much in that time period except for unlock the science and the technology. So here we are, we're going to tool our vehicle, and then once we purchase it, it goes from 4,500 to 1,500 per rocket, so that is excellent. We are going to make a new launch pad for it. I tried to modify the existing one, but it goes over the tonnage limit, so we're just going to create a new one here. I realize now in hindsight, as I'm watching this, I probably could have just changed, because I cleaned the fuels, but I didn't actually change any of the tonnage limits, so I probably could have just modified that original one if I had just read a little bit more, just paid a little more attention. So, you know, it's important to take your time in RP1 and really understand what it is that you're reading. So let's go ahead and time warp until the launch complex is complete. And then we're going to put in we're going to put in the order for said rockets. So we arrive on the launch pad in the earliest of mornings, just to get that nice early dawn sunrise launch, the nice golden orange glow against our silver body. And as we pan around, you can see the sunrise peeking out from underneath the clouds. And it's a good day to launch. The sky around us gets very dark as we go through the cloud layer, but soon brightens up as we pass up into the clear sky above us. Our spin stabilization is already starting to work. I was worried how this would function with two engines like that, but I was thankful to see that they held pretty straight and didn't sway too much, so it's good to know. It will be useful to know in the future, because in all of our series we didn't really double up our engines. We typically would go for bigger engines or more efficient engines, more fuel, things like that, but we didn't do a lot of doubling up of engines. But you know, sometimes you need to. Sometimes you need to have those engine plates and multiple sources of thrust. So we're going to switch over to the non-cinematic view for a second to kind of show you all the numbers that we're working on. And then we have a clean separation. We went back into cinematic mode for this transfer stages between the lifting stage and the eventual aerobee. I think launching in the early morning may be my new favorite time. So we're going to bring up the avionics screen just to keep an eye on our science, but we don't really have much science left to do. So it's not long for our screen. But this isn't really about science, and I'm starting to learn that without the suborbital research program, you don't make a lot of science in this early game. If you're doing the X-planes and this one, yeah, you're going to be struggling for science. You need to spend it very wisely. So I'm very excited that with the completion of this contract, we will be completing our program, and we'll be able to take up that research program and really start working on some science and really start moving forward with unlocking the things required to make better progress. So I've never done X-planes in the beginning before. I always waited until after the first two programs were completed, so it's definitely a different struggle, but I'm enjoying it. It's definitely different. Oh, there we go. I spoke right on through it again. So we completed the downrange 5,000 contract, so we can just go ahead and let it explode, do the heating in the air forces, and we'll go back to the KSC. And the most important thing is to head over to the admin building and take a look at our programs. So here we are, the early rocket development. As you can see, all of our main objectives are green. We still have some optional contracts that we can do, but as we see here, our funding is just about done, and in the little amount of time that we have left, we barely get any money at all. So I don't think it's going to be worth it to really hold on to that program. And instead, I think we're going to move on to the suborbital research. As you can see here, we have some science launches that we need. Early satellites is tempting because we have a decent light launcher vehicle, but I think the suborbital research is where we need to focus our time. And since we have all this confidence, we are going to spend all of it, all 300 points, leaving us only 1.6 confidence, but we're going to be doing that at a breakneck speed. So that means we have a lot of work ahead of us. We also have to start focusing on our X-plane contracts because we've only done the one there, so that is going to be also on the docket for the upcoming episodes. It takes quite a bit to make the RP1 episode, so I don't know how regularly I'm going to be posting, but I am definitely going to be trying to get to it as much as possible because I know you guys like it, and I've been enjoying playing it as well. I'm also going to be working on a short little surprise dealing with RP1 and some of the enhanced graphics of RSS Reborn, and so hopefully soon I will have some news on that front as well. But other than that, we're just going to keep plugging away with our series and keep moving forward. So I hope you're enjoying it, and I hope you'll follow along. But anyways, that's where I'm going to leave today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're looking forward for more RP1. If you did, please consider giving me a like, drop me a comment, let me know your thoughts, and I will see y'all in the next one. Take care.